Really?
Yeah. You can start it whenever, Matt.
Oh, I did start.
Okay,
Oh,
yay!
hey.
This is my cutie baby Ruby Lauren.
Hi.
Wait, Lauren, introduce yourself, like, do your thing.
Hey guys, I'm happy to be here. My name is Lauren. I am a writer. I wrote a fiction novel back in 2022, and it's called When a Soul Walks, and we're going to talk about it today. And it's going to be really cute and fun.
I'm so excited. Like, just so you know, this is the most, like, I've been anticipating this conversation specifically over all the other ones I've done, no offense.
Oh my god. No, I've been really excited about this for weeks. I love this vibe.
And, like, I don't know where, like, trying to think of where to start. Even when you were touching this, it was making me think of that one scene with Susie and the light bulb, but we'll get there.
Yes. Favorite.
Yeah, that's like my favorite. That was I think I texted you when I was reading it, like, in live time on the train. I was just like, oh my god, I'm reading this right now, and it's, like, so major.
No, the light bulb scene is what inspired the whole story.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna get there, but I feel like we should start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So do you want to give, like, a background? You went to Emerson for writing,
Yes.
right?
Yep, creative writing major at Emerson. It was a really cool experience. It was very COVID college, but the professors were insane. Like, they all were experts in their field. Like, they had all published, and I had the opportunity to take a short story class, which is where this story was actually born.
Cool.
Yes. It was born out of literally a short story called Light Bulbs, and that's, I think, the first chapter.
So that's how it got to the Susie, the light bulb story.
Yes, exactly. When she was a little baby, and she's like, light bulb.
Yeah.
But it's a star. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, you know, short stories are like my jam. That's like my favorite thing to read.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that it was born out of that because I feel like even when I read a short story, sometimes I'm like, I could see like a whole evolution of what this would be.
Totally. It's like it packs such a punch, and you have to like put a lot of energy into a short story because you have to basically like beginning, middle, end in a couple pages.
Yeah.
And I feel like the short story about the light bulbs is what actually really resonates with people because so much work went into just writing the short story. Like, I had proofreaders, I had my professors.
I wanted to ask you about the process. Like,
yeah.
And I feel like, also, she published this at 23, so like, baby girl is a star. That is very young.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, like, I guess we'll start off with what keeps you motivated and inspired, like, just overall.
Yeah, I honestly, when it comes to book writing, it's the people who have read it and how they respond to it that keeps me motivated.
Cool.
People's responses and reactions have been so positive and sweet. And I'm somebody who's like, give it to me. Like, I don't care if you hate it. Like, I want constructive criticism.
Any crit is good crit.
Yeah, 100%, because then I can level up, you know? Like, we're going to do better the next time. But for this book, I've gotten such beautiful responses that it continues to inspire me to want to write more.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, like, people are feeling things. And the biggest goal for me whenever I started writing was I want people to feel like they're heard. I want them to feel seen. And I want to basically give words to people who might not know how to speak about their feelings.
Yeah, and I felt like like even a theme in this book I felt like was like generational trauma or breaking like kind of like patterns.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's cool that like, but it was at such like a higher level. Like, it's not like you like slammed it over our head. It was more of just like, I can see that like the content of the story is him, like the main character trying to figure out like, okay, like, not what went wrong, but like what choices he made led him where.
Totally.
And I'm curious, like, I don't know, 23 is so young, and you were just kind of like, okay, graduate Emerson, it's COVID, and I'm going to write a story and publish it.
I know. It started back, I was 21 when I started writing, finished in 2022. It only took me like a year to write it, which was crazy. But I was in, the process that I was in was like kind of sped up, like they kind of wanted you to do it within a year.
And this is a publishing company that you went with?
Yeah,
okay.
They had reached out to me and they're like, we have this program, do you want to be a part of it? Thought it was a scam. I was like, no.
Well, everything is a scam now, so it's like, how do you know?
They reached out to me in 2020 and it was like hot COVID era, and I was like, actually, I'm good. Like, love you, bye. And then they emailed me a year later and they're like, wait, like, actually, do you want to do this? And I was like, let's go. Like, I'm stuck in my dorm room. There's nothing happening out here. Like, let's write a book. And now I have this. And
that is so, like, the chops, Lauren.
It's insane, because I totally could have got scammed, right? But I was like, whatever. And it wasn't like I was putting crazy money into this. Like, this was like a pilot program, pretty much. So
that's so cool. But I saw that you were on Goodreads, so, like, snaps for that.
Yeah.
And you probably do you read those reviews, or are you kind of like, I'm not looking?
No, I love reading the reviews. And I also love when they're honest. Like, not that, like, I love when my cutie friends go on and they're like, oh my God, hey girl. They're like, my bestie girl published a book. And I'm like, oh, so sweet. But I love seeing that. But I love seeing like strangers who've read my book and they're like, this is how I feel about it. This is my perspective. A little bit of like, hey, like, might not have loved this part. Like, that makes me like light up because I'm like, okay, like
This
I'm
is
getting an
how
honest review,
yeah.
right? So, but all the reviews on Goodreads are so sweet, genuinely.
That's so cool. And I just feel like at that age, like, do you feel like because of your experience at Emerson, you were just like, okay, like I've been around people that are published, or like it's almost like you're around people that have this energy of like this is possible and we can do things like this.
Yeah.
So it almost like gives you the confidence to be like, no, like people really put themselves out there and like put their work out there.
Totally. And also my mom, since the beginning of time, has been like throwing my writing out there. Like she was the one who inspired me to like submit to get awards for my writing, like the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. She told me to submit to that. I never would have.
Cool.
And then
wait, like the Scholastic Book Fair?
I don't know if it's that.
I was like,
I'm like, I don't know
the
if it's
erasers that I used to get, that I used to cop.
could be connected, but I submitted to like this like Boston Globe thing as
Cool.
like a little teenager, and I won an award for my writing, and that was the first time that I was like, okay, like maybe it doesn't suck, like maybe it's not just a hobby.
Yeah.
And this was all because my mom gave me the hope that like, okay, like this could be something
Yeah, keep
real.
pouring into it.
Yeah.
It's almost like you just need like a little bit of encouragement.
Push. Like,
Yeah.
she like basically flicked me off the edge, and I was like, okay, great. And then
Okay,
after,
shout out Lauren's mom.
Shout out mom. What's up? I love you. And after doing that, it made me a lot easier to publish this. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I've already kind of exposed myself by putting my writing out there, because it is such a vulnerable thing. But at the same time, like, this is not mine. Like, it's my writing, but it has like nothing to do with like who I am. Like, once it's out in the world, it's everybody else's.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I look at
That's
it.
so cool. That's the cool thing about sharing your art too, is it's just like, okay, now it's up to your interpretation.
Totally.
And I even like noticed things as I was reading it, and I think I would just like live text you and be like, okay, I'm at this part, like this is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I'm the kind of reader that also takes notes in the margins. Like I can't, like
love
that's how
that.
I process.
Yeah.
And when I was reading this, I was like, oh wow, I have so many questions about like Lauren's interpretation of like certain things,
Totally.
just based off the big picture, like moments of the story.
Yeah.
And like how
yeah.
you structured it. Like I felt like even just like the anatomy of the brain. I was like, so did you want to research the brain?
It's so weird how it came about. I think like this story was pretty much derived from this fear that I had as a little kid that like my grandfather wasn't going to be able to watch me grow up after he'd passed away from cancer. So that's what inspired my main character having cancer.
Yeah.
And the biggest plot line that aligns with me and my grandpa is the main character's relationship with his daughter Susie, because it's such a beautiful thing, and I think I had such a beautiful relationship with my grandfather. But yeah, it's one of those things where I was like, okay, how ironic would it be for a neurosurgeon to have a brain tumor and to know exactly what his symptoms mean? Like, part of the book, he's kind of like, I already knew for like months. Like, I was in denial.
Because he knew the symptoms. He knew what to watch out for.
He knew that something was wrong, and he never got checked. His wife was like, hey, maybe you should, go get checked. And so the cancer element has a lot to do with my experiences in dealing with my grandfather having cancer, especially when I was at such a young age. My whole life, my grandfather had cancer, and he passed away when I was 11. So just like watching that and seeing how he handled it with such grace and hope, that is such a huge thing I'm trying to emulate in the book, is having hope, because I think it can help you survive like
any situation.
Anything, literally. Yeah.
Do you want to give like a short synopsis, or I can read the back of the book, but like just to give people an idea of like what it's about, or like what?
Sure.
If you want to start with the short story, you can. But if you want to just like give a high level, like I wrote this story based on X, Y, and Z.
Totally. I am so bad at this, but we're gonna.
I'm like, I have it. Like, should I read it?
No, I should try. I should try to like promote my book. It's fine. So basically, this book is about a 35-year-old neurosurgeon who gets a brain tumor. And first page, he succumbs to his illness. However, the whole book, you're kind of trying to determine whether or not he's alive or dead.
Yes, which I found fascinating.
Yeah, because it's kind of like you are on this journey with the narrator where you're like, I have no idea what's going on, and neither do you. So let's get this together.
Which also was like great writing. Some of the main characters, I was like, oh, and they're like teaching us as an audience like what he's going through, which I thought was really powerful.
And also it leaves it so up to interpretation, because you're like, okay, maybe this happens, and then there's all these twists and turns that kind of make you question his reality and whatnot. But essentially, you go on the journey of a soul, and Edward travels to different worlds, and he spends time in purgatory with a Saint Christopher, which I honestly came up with that because I had a Saint Christopher pendant that I always wore.
That's Saint Christopher.
Like I sometimes take little details from my life and throw them into the book.
I love that.
He became actually one of the most like beloved characters in the book.
I loved his character. He's hilarious.
He's so fun.
And he also acts as like kind of like a note of like, okay, and now I can tell like a benchmark of like where we are in the story.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool because the moments of reflection that he has with Edward are moments that Edward would never have on his own. So yeah, I know I kind of went a little off track, but it is essentially about a neurosurgeon who gets a brain tumor and kind of goes through these different worlds where he experiences his life in different ways, and he has relationships with his family members, but they play different roles in his life in each world. So
yes, I wrote down like a note because at one point it says like, you have a quote in there that says, your relationships change, but you will always be connected to the same people no matter where you are placed.
Yeah, so it was this crazy concept where in World 1, he has his wife Celeste and daughter Susie. In World 2, his daughter Susie is actually his patient.
That part really messed with me. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, because like he didn't even know it was his daughter. Like that's the craziest thing is in different worlds, he doesn't always have the memories. And I play with that a lot too.
Yeah.
Memory distortion. And I think now that I'm looking back on it, a lot of times when people experience trauma, they do lose memories, right? So like that's a huge part of it too, is like not coping with your shit can cause more problems. And that's essentially what he faces going through the different worlds. He realizes, wow, I had a lot more going on than I ever knew.
Than you expected.
And it was impacting my relationships in ways that I had no idea about.
And that's something that I really connected with too, is I was like, oh, like he has this like kind of traumatic relationship with his father, and that like impacts a lot of how he dealt with like his relationships in his like first life or his like world like originally, before you break out into these like multiple kind of like different realities that like could have been or should have been or would have been.
Yeah, totally.
And I felt like it was like, oh, like it's so interesting to see someone like in live time in this story just kind of like deal with those kind of like heartbreaking moments, and then like kind of changes. You don't realize like the smallest things impact like choices and decisions you make that impact your whole life. Like I think at one point he's like not with his wife, and he like kind of can't deal with that. And it's like just him like dealing with like these choices he made based on like how he handled the trauma that he endured.
Yeah, and I think his dad was also a neurosurgeon, so he puts this pressure on him and sets up this expectation that you have to meet everything that I want you to be, like you have to become. So when that pressure is put on a person, I think a lot of times people pour themselves into work and neglect relationships, like with his wife, for example.
Oh my God, that was heartbreaking too.
Oh my God. Yeah, writing that was so hard, but it also, I think, is such a, like, it's an experience that a lot of people have, where they're like, you know, obviously people appreciate, like, you're working so hard, you're supporting us financially, but I think when emotions are being neglected, when relationships are not prioritized, it's actually way more detrimental than constantly pouring yourself into a job. Like, you need to maintain the relationships, because honestly, we're all here for love.
Yeah.
Like, let's be so for real. Like, we're all, I think literally the meaning of everything is just the love that we give to one another and cherishing our relationships. And I know that work is important. We gotta get that bag, but like at the end of the day, like the relationships are what lasts, right? So
yeah, is it kind of like when I was reading it, especially like the Susie and the light bulb part, which I want you to expand upon.
Yeah.
But that specifically, I was like, oh my God, like I just feel like there is so much kind of like a different type of attachment that children can have to like impactful like people in their lives. Like it's like they're so unjaded when it comes to like the amount of love they can feel towards a person. And I felt that when I was reading the parts about her. I was like, oh my God, like this is so cute. I even felt like how I felt to like when I was little to people that I looked up to. I was like, oh, like this is so important.
Yeah, and he shows up for his daughter. Like that's the one thing about this book that was so important for me to emulate is his relationship with his daughter, because that really, it was coming from a place of love. Like it was the love that I had for my grandfather and how much he loved and cared for me. And it was also important to see sort of the juxtaposition between Edward and his wife's relationship and Edward and Susie's relationship, because it's such a beautiful father-daughter relationship, but he obviously had a lot of conflict in his marriage. And I think a lot of times sometimes people can maybe lose sight of the partnership when obviously you have to take care of a child.
Yeah.
So it was showing the difficulty of that dynamic.
I feel like a lot of times it's like, okay, they're like, you chose pouring all of your energy into your child's well-being, or you chose like your partner, and then your child's kind of like, hey, like we were around.
We talked about this, which is so funny. It's true. Like, I think it's really hard for people to find a balance, because obviously when you have a kid, it's like that's an extension of who you are.
And so that's your whole world.
Obviously you're going to pour yourself into taking care of them, but I think a lot of times, and what I tried to emulate in this book, is forgetting about your partner, and how that is also actually very detrimental for your child.
Yeah.
Seeing that you're not giving your partner the same love that you give to them, it's really hard for them to see. So yeah.
That was definitely something
Deep.
that I noticed. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Also something that I wanted to touch on was, okay, so there's plots of this where it's kind of like losing, so at one point it's saying like you losing a piece of yourself every time you die and move into a new world, because basically he does it, I correct me if I'm wrong, but he kind of like will get into a situation, like die in a way, and then like enter a different reality of like, so it's kind of like you kind of are along for the ride of like, okay, which one is the real version of his life?
Exactly.
And which was trippy and really interesting, because I felt like I could even picture even like small decisions I've made. I'm like, oh my God, like imagine if my life went this way, or imagine if my life went that way, if I had like stayed with this person or done this thing or like tried this job.
You'd be a whole different person.
A whole different person.
Yeah.
But I noticed that like a lot of the people are the same, obviously, in every scenario. Like you don't lose those connections.
Yeah.
They just show up as different roles.
Totally.
And then there was also another thing I noticed, kind of similar to like, I don't know, which you can speak on this, but it kind of challenged like your own identity, but like almost in the way where it's like, okay, like every time how I interpreted it was like kind of like how like therapy, you kind of like kill former versions of yourself to get to like a new, more evolved person. So I felt like every time he was in a situation, he'd like learn about himself in a way, and then like die and then join a new reality.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's almost like therapy times 1,000, because you're in these like real life scenarios where it's like, I did this thing in this reality, or like I am this person here, and then like he goes through this like event and then goes into the next one. And I was like, it's almost if like if you were to be in therapy and you literally had to like have exposure to like what would have happened, and then you like move through the next wave of like, okay, and now your life's like this, and like what does that teach you?
Yeah. It's cool. I love seeing your interpretation, because also I actually genuinely haven't read my own book in so long, and I was reading it on the train this morning, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to emulate the idea of sort of like an old version of you dying. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we carry every version of ourselves with us.
Yeah, totally.
And I think there are moments where you could get like triggered, and it's like a 12-year-old thing like that happened to you back in the day, and it's like, okay, a younger version of me is triggered, but like me today knows that like that's
we can
not
handle
upsetting
it,
and we can handle it. So what I tried to emulate with him sort of dying is he didn't have the knowledge that he had at that time, and then he gains the knowledge, right? So then that version of him that was sort of ignorant to the fact that maybe he affected people in ways that he wasn't aware of, it dies with that world, and he moves on and basically kind of does level up.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I'm aware of this now, and I know what I need to do in the next world.
Yeah, that's exactly how I kind of saw it. And it even made me think, I was just like, it's so funny, because like you have this idea of like what could have been or what should have been or what would have been, like in any sense, like anybody can relate to that. Because obviously you make decisions and you're like, and little did I know like that decision would change like years of my life. Like,
yeah. And I think a big thing that I, just in my own life, is like not having regrets, right? Like, I think after dying, he was sitting in purgatory watching his life back, and I think he definitely had a ton of regrets. And the way that he traveled to different worlds, it was kind of a way to make up for that and maybe see another side to it, because I personally believe that everything happens for a reason, and that we're all kind of on our own paths, and the way that things happen is the way that it's meant to happen.
Yeah, it's like no rejection, just redirection. That's how someone phrased it to me.
That was so good. Okay, I've tattooed that on my forehead. That was really cute. But yeah, that's kind of how I saw him sort of dying and traveling into new worlds, and he had to do the dying pretty much. He kind of had to kill off that version of himself, which is so aggressive. But at the same time, it was such like a visual thing that I was trying to emulate. Like, one of my editors, there was a scene where he gets hit by a train, not to spoil, but like it's fine, he's alive. And basically my editor is like, okay, like you just wrote a really gory scene, like do you want this for your book? Like do you want it to be gory? And I had to tone it back because I'm like, we're not trying to write a horror film, like it's so fun to get into.
Argue that like that kind of like brings the readers. I mean, I like horror, so that's me speaking from my point of view. But I think it really sucks me in when I'm like, okay, and now like I can't help but like picture this kind of
and it's so like visceral and you're like, ew, like I can see. I had so much fun writing this because it was so stream of consciousness. Like I would sit down for 3 hours every week. I
was gonna ask you, which we can get to this, but like I'm curious about your process and just like, especially now that you're out of. I am also a creative person, and I think having been in a program where they encourage you, or at least try to, like you have like a designated time or space to be doing these things, and then you get into like the real world. And you try to like do things like write a book or like a screenplay or like make art or like anything, and just like trying to figure out that like lane of like, how is this process gonna work for me? And I feel like we both definitely connect on the fact that the library is a great place to go to like really focus and lock in. But is there anything that you specifically like to do that gets you in like a good state to write?
Yeah, something I need to get back into is accountability writing, which is the only reason I finished my book, is because
that's so cool.
We
Good
have
to know.
this thing called boot camp, which is hilarious. We every week for
not boot camp.
I know, I'm like, what? Every week for 3 hours, we would sit down on Zoom with each other. It would be like completely muted, and we had a little timer, and we would sit and write together for 3 hours in silence, literally. I would listen to the Stranger Things soundtrack and vibe out, and it was just stream of consciousness. That's why this book can feel so like floaty and dreamy at times, because I like that. Literally was in my head. I had no idea what I was writing. It was just like literally just getting words on the page and then going back and fixing everything. But that's the whole reason why my book got written, is because I sat down with people every week and I had to do it.
Yeah.
Like I signed up to be a part of this group. And it was a part of the program that I was in.
Cool.
But that's huge for me, like having people hold me accountable, because then I feel like, okay, it's not just about me anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's about everybody else. And also we had a pre-sale before the book was even finished. Shout out to everybody who bought my book from the pre-sale. Y'all are angels and I'll never forget you.
Oh my God, cute.
They're all in the back of the book. Shout out to them. But they bought my book before it was even done.
Oh my God.
So y'all supported me before you even knew if it would be good, which is hilarious. And I love that. I think that's so sweet. But yeah,
oh my God, yeah, I see it now. Yes.
All these people are the reason why I finished this book, because I had to do it for them.
This isn't my book, it's ours. First of all, adorable.
Facts, though. Like, this is not my book. Like, the reason why I even finished was because of all the names on the back of this book.
Yeah, it's nice to have like a community of people behind you when you're working through something.
And it also forces you to get it done. Like, that's the thing. It's really hard to
well, it's like you don't want to let these people down. Like,
that was my biggest fear. I'd be up at like 2 a.m. like, I can't let them down, literally. I finished my book at like 2 in the morning on June 17th of like 2021 or 2022.
I love that you're like, and I'm citing the time, the date, and hour.
I looked it up like right before this because I was like, when was that?
How did you know what the time was? Because it was like, and I sent the email and was like, here I am.
I wrote a note in my notes app, and I screenshotted it and posted it. So it was like literally 2 o'clock in the morning, and I wrote the last chapter. And it was like period, like finished. And it was like the coolest moment ever.
Yeah.
And then I sent it to copy editing, and I was like, okay, done. But I was not done at all. Then I had to read it. I had to read it out loud 5 times to myself. It was a whole process from there, but the work itself was done.
Yeah.
And then it was just cleaning it up.
And Lauren, for like such a young age, like go off, girlfriend. Like 23 years old, like you're like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking do it. Yeah. And I think that's so inspiring. And I feel like it is really cool that like, I don't know, the idea of publishing a book, especially when you're in your early 20s, is so daunting. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know if I can do it, or like you get all these like thoughts in your head. I'm sure that you were just like, okay, this feels so much. And I love that you were like, no, I'm gonna fucking sit down and do this. Like, I believe in it and I wanna do it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it speaks for itself, the fact that you've done it. Like, that's so cool.
It's so sweet. No,
I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with it.
It's really, I don't know how I did it. But also, like, it was during COVID, and that was such a different time.
Yeah.
Like, if I tried to do that now, it'd be
well,
really
it's like
hard.
life is so busy, yes.
It'd be so hard. Like, after coming home from a full day of work and then going into writing, can be a lot.
Yeah.
And also, I'm like, girl, I want to work out. I want to see my friends. I want to do cute things.
Trying to have a life and balancing creativity is so hard.
Oh, my God. The lack of social life I had while writing this was we were all stuck inside anyways, but I had to, like, like part of the publishing process, they're like, you're gonna have to cancel plans to finish this. Like,
oh yeah,
they're like, I'm on a deadline for
and
my
like
publisher.
mind you, when I was 23, I'm like basically still a child at that point. It's like you're so young and you're kind of like looking at them for direction, which is great. They gave it to you.
Oh yeah, that was the best part too, is they had like all of these phrases and things that kind of kept us going. And
that's so cool. Do you stay connected with the people you worked with?
totally, yeah. I mean, my editor's a legend, Tom Toner, shout out.
Cute.
And Jessica Drake Thomas, like they are amazing.
Yeah.
And I haven't like, it's inconsistent. Like we talk every once in a while, but I will always have those relationships, and the friends that I've made through that, I will always have them too. Because I forget what it's called, but it's based. I don't know how I don't know the name of it, but when you read the book before it gets published, like we did that beta reader.
Okay.
We did that for each other. So like my friends in the writing program read my book before it was done.
And they gave you like feedback and were like, hey, this is what I think.
Yeah.
Which also like any art process, it's so nice to have people just being like straight up like, hey, this is what I would.
Yes, and also other writers, because they like appreciate and know like good writing, and they also are like, hey, that's actually confusing as hell. And I turned this was my senior thesis as well, so I had professor.
Cool.
Yes, I had my professor look at this, and it was so good because he was also older, so I'm like, okay, he's like confused as hell by this, so let's like make it digestible for everybody of all ages, right? So that's what's really cool, is people can enjoy it of literally all ages. Like I don't necessarily recommend this for children because there is a lot of like high level intense concepts like death and philosophy, whatever. But my professor was so cool, and he would like tell me how it was, and he'd be like, girl,
do you want to drop the name? Who's this professor?
I don't remember.
We're like, love you.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to expose his life, but yeah, no, he was great. We'll put it in the comments.
Yo, I guess like well, I want you to talk about the short story that you had written. That was what I wanted to talk about, because I feel like what impacted me the most when I first started reading it was the scene with Susie and the light bulb, and knowing that that's how it originated the actual book.
And when you say that scene, is it when she was a baby?
Yeah.
And she was kind of pointing up at the stars?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to know?
I just want to know, like, what the original short story, like, even just high level, what the idea of it was, and how it kind of got us here.
Yeah.
So it was basically you dealing with your grandfather.
Yeah, it was like kind of like a metaphor, I guess, because my I was really little. I was like 11 when he had passed away, and I think at that age, like you're old enough to understand what's happening, but you're like, what is death?
Death is so
like,
weird.
What is that? Like I don't like you don't see that person
you're like,
anymore.
Bye?
I'm like, literally, it's like, where did they go? Like what's happening? And again,
baby Lauren.
I know baby Lauren was like, what? Like I don't like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was kind of like trying to tap into the emotions that I had right after he passed away, because he inspired me to like write poems and stuff. When he was sick, I would write poems and bring them to the hospital room and stick them up on the wall. Like that very much was a huge inspiration for me. So I was trying to tap into like the heartache of losing someone and the grief. And yeah, basically Edward's on the back deck with his daughter Susie, and she notices the stars and she calls them light bulbs, and he sort of corrects her, or actually no, he doesn't correct her. He's like, yes, those are light bulbs, girl. And essentially it's just like this really beautiful moment where she, is like, do I have a light bulb? Because he points out like there's Grampy's light bulb, because he is somebody who has passed on, and I very much like wish on a first star kind of girly, like very much I do believe that my grandpa is somewhere and is safe and is watching me and things like that. And that's what I wanted to emulate in the story, is Edward at the end of the short story obviously like passes away, quote unquote, and then there's a moment where he's able to watch Susie like sleeping in her bed and like going through her life, and that was the biggest fear I had, is like, will my grandpa be able to watch me like grow up? Like he's such a big part of my life, like is he still going to be able to see me do all the things that I'm doing? And that short story was a way of giving me hope that yes, like people pass away, but they're still a part of our lives, even if they're not physically present.
Yeah.
They're still within you. They're within like your mannerisms and the way that you go about your life. Like,
and there is like that unspoken thing, which, not to get really woo woo, but I feel like there are definitely times where you're like, I don't know, like I even feel a presence of like looking at the stars specifically that is so like okay, like, you feel so small in comparison.
Totally.
Like, as human beings, we're just, like, looking up, like, okay, so there's so much going on, like, that we don't understand.
I know. I also get low-key woo-woo, and I'm like, okay, nothing matters. I'm like, why are we so dramatic out here, guys? Like, we're literally floating. You texted me that a few weeks ago. You're like, we're on a floating rock, and that's happening. But this book is very much like that. It's kind of
It's just, like, so beautiful. Like, I felt like the first thing I thought of, too, is I was like, that's so... I can tell that Lauren had, like, a very impactful situation or a relationship with your grandfather. Like, I immediately was like, she can understand at such a young age, like it just takes so much maturity to, like, see, like, the bigger picture of things. And I feel like that typically happens when you've had to deal with, like, big things like death at a young age, because then you're like, wow, like, I'm actually, like, thinking of things at a larger scale. Like, it's not just about, like, who my friends are at the lunch table or, like, what I'm wearing tomorrow. It's like, oh, like, I'm thinking about, like, the concept of existence and, like, how we all, like, counterplay in each other's lives. Like, that's such, like a very big concept for, like, a young baby Lauren to try to be wrapping her head around.
Totally. And I do try to emulate that through Susie as well, because there are moments where she probably should be more innocent at the age that she's at, but then things happen in her life. Whoa, it's dark. Things happen in her life where she's like, actually, no, like, I know way more than I probably should. And that affects the way that you look at life, the way that you approach things, and just your experiences in general.
Yeah, and I felt like also reading this, it was like, I don't know, like, it just hit home sometimes when I'd be like, oof, like, you do sometimes act like not the best version of yourself when you deal with, like, certain really hard things, like, and it isn't always, like, your proudest moments that, like, I'm sure, like, I'm, like, as you age and, like, kind of get in your, like, way of things in your life, like, almost looking backwards and being like, hey, like, and I feel like the main character has to do that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of seeing, like, oh, I wish that I had handled that differently, but you kind of do what you can do with what you have at your disposal.
It's basically the moments where you, like, cringe at yourself.
Yes.
Like, oh, why did I say that? But then it's such a learning moment. It's like, okay, but I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Right? And he has so many of those. And Saint humbles him so much.
That was, like, so
hilarious. Saint's like, dude, like, get it together, please.
Yeah, did you have, like, a inspo for that character, or is that more of just, like, your inner...
For Saint, it does kind of emulate, like, a therapy session, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like, he is kind of like a therapist, except he has no regard for your feelings. That's the difference. Like, I think in therapy, they very much are non-biased, and they more so let you talk, and Saint very much is like, no, I'm gonna have
tell
the
you
mic
what it
right
is.
now, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you how it is. And I think that's exactly what Edward needed.
Yeah.
Is someone to kind of put him in his place. And I also think traces back to communication. His dad was obviously not a great figure in his life, communicator. So Saint basically talked to him in a way that he would understand.
Yeah, totally.
And I had so much fun with that character.
Yeah.
Like, he was actually my favorite, too.
And it's funny because, like, obviously, like, I know you and I know that you can be, like, sass when you want to be, but you're such a beautiful, like, gentle, like, kind person. So seeing you write somebody who's kind of snarky, I'm like, and Lauren would never.
No, it's hilarious. And my family back in the day was, like, 50% sweet, 50% sassy. Like, literally. Like, that's just how it is.
That's cute.
But, yeah, writing Saint, I was like, okay, tap into that sass girl. And I feel like he really does give those vibes. He has the nails, you know?
Yeah, I know. Wait, that was
Everybody
hilarious.
talks about the nails. They're like, what's going on? Like, what does this guy even look like?
He's a fresh manny. Love that.
Sorry. He needs them, you know?
Yeah.
It's a lot of, like, physical things that happen to Edward, like, while he's in the space, you know?
Yeah, and I actually was curious, too, because there's one part where, like, technically when they speak, most of the time they're in, like, a purgatory. Yeah. Which is similar to a waiting room?
Yes, it is a waiting room.
Okay.
And that idea sort of, I don't know how I came up with that. I think it's just this idea of, like, you're in a state of, like, okay, I have to wait to move on to the next phase. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I don't want to cut you off, but I was curious if you were in waiting rooms with your grandfather, and that's kind of how it stemmed.
Wow, that's a really great question. Yeah, I definitely spent time in hospital waiting rooms for sure, because there were moments where I wasn't allowed to go in the room because I think his white blood cell count was down, and, like, you could get sick easier, so I would have to be like, hi, from the doorway. And there were definitely moments where I definitely was in waiting rooms. That's actually really deep, and I never thought about it like that.
The only reason I thought of it is I was like, wonder if she's drawing from that. But I want you to continue, because I feel like having that kind of experience of, like, oh, I'm in, like, purgatory is kind of what it seems like in the story, but just, like, that, like, moment of, like, all the realities are on pause, and I'm kind of, like, taking a minute with this character and, like, reflecting on what's going on.
Yeah, like, there's nothing else you can do.
Yeah.
All you can do is, like, sit in the waiting room and, like, figure it out. Yeah. Because it is sort of just, like, a pause in between, and he's in this, like, very like, the room isn't filled with much. It just has his memories on a shelf, a chair, a table, and a light.
The memories on the shelf gets me.
I love that idea. Can you imagine if all your memories that you've ever had are just like on the shelf and you can pick one up and just relive that?
I would love to do that, and I feel like it's because I feel like there's a lot of things where I'm just like, oh, like I just like push this out of my brain, and then I'm like, actually no, there's something to be said for like holding it, sitting with it, like processing.
Exactly, it's so tangible.
Yeah.
Like I feel like sometimes memories feel like they can get distorted, and I play with that too. Like this idea that, okay, maybe I didn't remember that the way that I thought I did. But yeah, I loved that concept. That was so fun. Like every time he kind of held a memory, he went into that world type deal. But
I feel like you did a lot of like cute, I don't know if it's like I think you call them metaphors, but you're the writer, so I'll let you speak on that. But I felt like with having like people's like lives or like their lights, like them being stars in the sky was so beautiful, and then having your memories live on a shelf and you be able to pick them up and then like enter a new world, and then also like the whole like waiting room is like a purgatory, and then even just like the anatomy of a brain I feel like played so much into the story, like processing like from certain, like it seemed like you did so much research, which I wanted to like kind of give you your snaps for that, because I was like, how did she know so much about how the brain works?
Girl,
I felt like I learned while I was reading.
I appreciate that so much. I actually did do a ton of research.
I could tell.
I watched brain surgery. Like I literally watched. Yes, and I'm kind of like not really squeamish, but a little bit, with like swelling and stuff. And I literally watched people like open up a brain and do surgery. I don't know. That's like on YouTube. I don't know. But
pull it up now.
is that allowed? Because I needed to know like the names of the tools that they use and where they were. You know, the dura and like different things.
Yeah.
Like, there's different parts of the brain and the skull and. I write about him performing surgery, and I wanted to make sure that was accurate, because how embarrassing. If that was wrong, I'll be like, that's so awkward. And luckily I had editors who fact-checked, and honestly there wasn't much that they had to change in regards to like
I was like, I feel like I'm literally learning about how the brain works.
It was a cool experience, and I kind of want to go back and read and relearn, because obviously my brain like threw that out, but it was really fascinating. I think the brain is so cool because there's so much we don't know about it, and it kind of controls who we are. That's
like so
our
much
entire being.
How we process, like how we decision make, like how we store memories. There was one part, I think I took a note of it, let me find it. It was literally, okay, so at one point you compare brain to a computer hard drive, and like you're kind of like, you're talking about like downloading memories almost as if it's off of a hard drive, but like, which I won't give anything away of the book, obviously.
That's totally fine, you can say that.
But like, I was like, oh, that's so funny, because I feel like, especially in today's, it aged very well, because I feel like
sketchy.
I know, and I was like, this is such like you can tell it's good writing because it's aging better and better as time goes on. But I was reading it and I was like, this is so funny that she makes this kind of like analogy, because it is like, like even how we store memories now. I feel like I even go to like my socials to be like, wait, what was I doing in June of like 2015? Like I could go back and like look through my camera roll, or like, do you know what I mean?
That is actually such a way that we store memories, through photos and posts and stuff. But that was really cool to play with. I reached out to my cousin to learn about like hard drives and downloading things. Like
Are they like an engineer or like a?
Yeah, like he is like really smart with like IT stuff. Like he's with it. Like that's just something he's really good at. So it's really cool because like I had people in my life who I could be like, is this right? Like, does this make sense? Because I have no idea. But in regards to downloading memories, like that is such a weird concept that honestly I was like, they probably will figure out how to do it, and I think they have. I saw an article recently that they're talking about erasing memories, which is interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, okay, probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, wait, that's crazy.
I mean, it depends, but yeah, moral of the story is that was such an interesting thing to work with, because it's like, okay, the concept here is like download memories and put them into somebody else's body, right? Yeah. And I think it plays a lot with ethics. Like, is that ethical? And there's a lot of sci-fi shows and TV and things like that that show this type of stuff.
I thought Black Mirror immediately when I was reading this. I was like, Black Mirror, Twilight Zone.
I watched a lot of Black Mirror, for sure. And I do watch a lot of sci-fi. Like, I love watching sci-fi. I don't read it that much, which is interesting.
I do. So I was like, this is so up my alley. Like, I love sci-fi and horror. Like, anything that's in that genre is usually, like, my speed. So I was like, very surprised when I started reading it. I was like, oh my God, and I'm going to love it.
I didn't even really know what genre this was. My editor was like, it's giving sci-fi mystery. And I'm like, let's run with
Which
that.
I love. I love like a thriller of like, I'm on the edge of my seat, like what's going to happen next. And I felt that the whole time I read this.
That's what I was really hoping for, genuinely. And as I was writing it, I had no idea what was coming next, to be honest. Because it was so stream of consciousness, I didn't plan a single thing. I just wrote the short story and then I kind of let it ride. And then that's the outcome.
Well, something that really stuck out to me, I took notes on this too, but this was, I think, when Susie is his patient in that reality.
Yeah.
And it says, the process of downloading her memories was simple. A microchip was inserted into her brain and the memories were extracted from the hippocampus, which I was like, okay, noted. Once the memories were embedded into the chip, it was removed from Susie's original body, similar to how a hard drive works. All the information was placed into a computer designed to sift through the memories, deleting the ones that may interfere with the procedure or cause her significant stress, such as the accident itself. Once her corrupted memories are removed from the chip, they are then placed into the duplicate's brain, who goes on to live as Susie. And it's just like the idea of like getting rid of all the bad stuff and then starting over.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds so nice.
It's so nice, just being this like perfect, like untainted
You're like,
version.
nothing has ever happened to me. I'm doing great.
Like, she literally wakes up, she's like, oh my God, I love this new body.
This is
like,
great.
slay queen. No, seriously, because it even erases the accident. So she would have woken up from that and been like, what?
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are. Whatever happened, I have no idea. But I do think it's so important to know the things that have happened to you because it literally changes who you are as a person, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I think even the bad stuff, even though it's really sad and unfortunate, it's necessary to shape you into the person that you are. And that's, again, it's like ethics. Like, that's not something that you should be doing, making somebody this perfect version of themselves or have them believe that they're this perfect version.
Yeah.
Because then everybody else in our life knows all the bad things, right?
Yes, that was something that I was curious about too. And I felt like it was just so interesting because I was like, Lauren at such a young age is thinking about like such big picture things. Like, it was even just like the idea of like, can we erase trauma? Like, can we break generational like patterns? Like, can we kind of like hit a reset button on like how I interact with like my immediate relationships? And I was like, for such a young person, like 23 is like such an age where you're kind of at like this weird like crossroads of like, okay, I'm not exactly an adult, but like I'm in this like in between.
Yeah.
And I could tell that you, even just reading this, I was like, this is written by somebody who's definitely thought about like the universe and the role that she plays in other people's lives, let alone like her own life. And that was really cool.
Thank you. No, it's weird because I didn't realize I thought so deeply until I write things, and then like, oh shit, like that's like my writing back in the day told me how I was feeling before I ever consciously knew.
That's fascinating. Like, what do you mean? Like, you would find stuff from when you were young?
Oh yeah, like I'd find poems that I was writing, and I was like, oh, I was anxious at that time, but I didn't know that was even a thing that happened to me. Like, I was like, I'm not an anxious person, but then you read these poems, and you're like, no, like, homegirl was going through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that I learned is I sort of processed feelings through writing and using metaphors and honestly keeping the emotions at a distance. That's such a big thing is like with writers, like I'm not putting myself into the story. I'm just putting the feelings that I once had into stories. So it's not like my experiences. It's just the feeling.
Which I love that. Like, it's such a healthy way to process and also doesn't like put anyone on blast. You're kind of just like, no like I'm processing my own things. But like, it's so cool that like your brain, like, because I was saying this, I've said this before, but I feel like seeing people's artwork or what they create is such a window into their brain.
Totally.
And I felt like we had just only started being roommates, and I was like, oh my God, you're right. I love reading. I'm such an avid reader, and I read this and was like, oh my God, like I didn't know how deep like Lauren was, and like how like I don't know, just very articulate a lot of this story is.
Yeah, it's really strange, like looking back and being like, damn, I did think a lot about that. I was like, that's so dark. But
you're such a bubbly, like lovely person, and I'm like, and I think both things can exist. Like I think that you can be multifaceted, and I think like you can think about death and have had these experiences, and also like put it into your art and still be like enjoying life.
Like, I'm living, I'm chilling, but. Yeah, no, that's so real. I think it's fun to write things like this because like you said, I do kind of project this very bubbly like personality, but I do think about things really deeply, and there are obviously like things that I think about that aren't so cute and sweet, but putting that into writing is so fun because I'm like, this isn't about me, this isn't about my life. It's just I'm putting it into a character and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
And there's always like a a through line of hope, right?
Yeah.
That's such a big part of this book is even though it talks about death and really sad concepts, the whole time I feel like there is this theme of hope and that things will get better and that we're not doomed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's also like, I noticed at least that there was like, oh, like the smallest, like, actions do have big impacts.
Totally.
And like, even if that goes to a negative way, it also can go to a positive way. So it's like you making the smallest decisions and like actions can still bring up a lot of like good.
Totally. And that's such a big concept for Edward because it's like, hey, dude, like if you do one small thing that could maybe change your life in a positive way, like that's enough.
Yeah.
You don't have to go do something crazy.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to go off the rails, dude. But like just doing something little and seeing how that changes your life in one way or another. And then deciding what direction you want to go. Like that's the thing, we all have choices.
Yeah.
And
totally.
he chooses to continue on this sort of weird healing journey. And he doesn't really have a choice because he's kind of in this weird place, but at the same time, he still chooses to try.
Yeah.
And I think that says something about
oh my
his
god
character.
And it also shows how much he loves the people in his life because a lot of his like efforts are like, okay, well I need to do this like for my wife or for my daughter.
Yeah, and I think there's something so beautiful too in people showing up in the best way that they can. I think a lot of times like he's really trying, and I think people in his life might not see that because he's doing it in a way that they might not want, right?
Yeah.
So he's trying to like communicate with his wife and is doing a really bad job at it, but he's still making that effort. And yeah, there's a lot of really deep, beautiful moments with him and his wife that I think are really real.
Yeah.
And it was, again, like so fun to write those situations.
Yeah, I feel like, like when I was like, when a soul walks, I was like, okay, like what could this be about?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it was like, oh, like it's gonna literally take you through like what happens like to you like from birth to like death to like after life.
Yeah.
Like you kind of go through this whole journey.
Yeah, because he's like literally an amniotic fluid.
Yeah.
When he first enters the waiting room, like he's kind of like floating around, and he's not a baby. Like he's a full-grown man, but that was totally symbolic. Like it's kind of like this born again type moment. Also, this is not a religious book. Like it's so funny because some people have interpreted it as that, which I think again everything up for interpretation. Yeah. But no way was I trying to be like religion, you know.
And I don't get that. I actually don't get that. I think it's more of like spiritual.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like it's really not about like even God is lowercase in this. Like,
yes.
I kind of messed around with things like that, and it's not to be offensive or disrespectful. Like I think. You know, we all believe what we believe, but my version of what I believe is like I think we do end up somewhere. And I think also a big thing about the book is signs, like in the universe. I'm really like, I try to tap in and be like, oh, that's a sign from the universe. You know how people are like, oh my God, cardinal or whatever.
Yeah, they think it's like my grandmother's the
like
same
an
way.
Angel, or whenever my mom and I would see like feather, we're like, oh, it's an angel, like things like that, little things in the universe.
Well, even Saint at one point is just like humans have this weird thing of like where they see patterns, they just mark it as coincidence.
Yes.
And immediately when I read that, I was like, I knew me and Lauren were kindred spirits because I was like, me and her both see things and are like, this isn't like an accident, that like I'm noticing these patterns or parallels.
No.
And I think the more tapped in you are to like kind of seeing the magic around you, like the more you can kind of get those impacts.
Totally.
And I feel like you can live a more positive life if you are more aligned.
Totally.
And that's for everyone's interpretation, obviously. But I felt like when I was reading this, I was like, oh, I can tell that Lauren's like really thought and like felt things in such a way where like you were like listening for these kinds of signs and like parallels.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll hit you in the face.
Yeah, and I feel like it takes like sometimes like a big life instance or like trauma or losing someone where it's kind of like wakes you up to be like, okay, like I want to pay attention.
For sure.
And I felt like I was like, this is so cool that she clearly has been paying attention at such a young age and was able to like create something that other people can kind of tap into and like even learn about themselves as they read. Like I felt like I was thinking about my own relationships and like decisions I've made or like how I live my life when I was reading this, which I thought was really cool because you don't often find like a book or like a story that you're like, oh, like this actually makes me think about like what I've been acting like in a certain relationship or like how I've been like moving through my life day to day, because like it's so outward about like how he experiences his own reality and like his own relationships. And for you to write this at 23, I'm just like, whoa, that was so
sweet.
It's so cool. Like I just was like immediately struck by it.
Thank you. No, the coincidence part is my favorite thing because I honestly don't think anything is a coincidence. I'm like, there's no way that happened, and it's like I feel like I have deja vu all the time. I'm like, I've been here before.
Well, even me and you, becoming roommates was just by chance. Shout out Matt for putting us together.
Literally, thank you. Even in the kitchen, sometimes our kitchen chats, I'm like, and we've been here before, and there's like people watching us, and they're like, look at them, like.
So it's being so woo-woo, but like yes.
Look at them repeating this pattern again. And will we learn? Maybe.
Yes.
But yeah.
Oh my God, you teach me things every day.
Yo, so do you, and I really appreciate that. I feel like I've learned stuff even in this conversation.
I actually, like, when I was reading this, was like, oh wow, we hadn't even gotten that close yet. Just as a spoiler, we had not even reached a level where like we would chat about like reality or like the concept of like death or like all these like big like things that kind of like tell you a lot about a person. Like we hadn't even touched the surface of. And I started reading this, and I felt like I was like learning about how you process the world around you, which was so interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. It was.
Did it feel vulnerable?
It's hard because it's through the perspective of a 35-year-old man.
I was like,
so I'm like, I don't relate to him.
We don't know.
At all. I have no idea, and it was fun doing that because I had to tap into like a person I had no idea anything about.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it feels like to be a man, especially 35-year-old one with a kid and a wife and a brain tumor. Like that is so specific. So it's funny because like the way that he processes things is very different from me. But I'd say like. Again, like what I pour into my books is the feelings. Like I've felt sad before. I've had heartbreak. I've had loss and grief. So those are mine. Like those feelings, like the visceral reactions to things, like that's mine. But a lot of it is just the character. Like I just designed this person who's kind of a hot mess, but like he figures it out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I love the idea of like hot mess of like. And I also think that it's so interesting because it's like throughout the story, like you do have this hope of like he is going to change what's happening to him, like, or he is going to be there for his daughter. He is going to be able to show up for his wife in some way, shape, or form. Like whether, I won't spoil it, whether he's alive or not, or like whether he figures out how to like impact them. It's like you can tell that like the energy is going to go towards that. Yeah. Which was really cool.
I love that too because it's like, okay, this can be somewhat satisfying.
Yes.
It's such a frustrating book at the same time because there's moments where you're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
But there are moments where you're like, all right, he's getting somewhere. Like, he's figuring it out. He's doing his thing.
And, like, I guess, like, coming from, like, you finished a book, like, you're still, like, in your mid-20s. Like, do you have, like, a thought of, like, this is what I'd want to do next? Or, like, these are concepts or like ideas I want to explore or like characters I've been thinking about, which you obviously don't, if you don't have to share them if you don't want to, but like if I know that like a lot of times I feel like if you create art, like the experiences you go through or things you see around you can impact what you want to make or put out. So I was curious, now that you've done this, like do you have like an idea of like, okay, and now I'm gonna work on something like this, or like I have ideas towards here? Yeah,
I think funny enough, I'm sticking with the sci-fi vibe. Like the next book that I'm writing is very like sci-fi mystery. I kind of want to make it more like realistic, but also like there are things in this that kind of became realistic over time. But I would love to write from the perspective of a young woman. I think that could be so fun, and I could delve into her brain in a way maybe where I can relate more than with Edward. I was trying to really tap into something that I didn't experience ever.
Which is so cool.
It's so cool. Like, writing is so cool. Like, it's so fun.
If you want to, like, microdose being a different person or, like, kind of experience a different reality, you get to do it through this form.
Literally, you can make your characters do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, I love my characters like they're real. Like, it's kind of crazy. And I'm rooting for them. I'm like, and I also, they piss me off. Like, a lot of times Edward was so annoying. And that's why, too, having a main character who kind of sucks is so fun. Because then it's like, okay, redemption time, but also it's like, can he really redeem himself? But yeah, I'm hoping to write for my next novel like a perspective of like a young woman,
which you would nail, by the way,
which would be really cool and fun. So keep an eye out. I have no idea when that's coming out.
You're like, get back to me later.
I'm like, get back to me in 10 years because I have no idea what's going on ever. But yeah, that's the goal.
That's so cool. I honestly like couldn't recommend this book enough. It is on Goodreads. I was like gonna write, like I was gonna read off some of the reviews, and then I was like, I won't put her on blast, but they are good.
That's so sweet. No, thank you to everyone who's written a review and all the things. It's been a beautiful journey.
Yeah, and I also think like, what an accomplishment for such a young woman. Like honestly, I'm gonna gas you up just because being a 23-year-old girl is an experience that I think a lot of women can relate to, being told like you don't know anything, or like just like you get put in this like kind of like pigeonhole of just like you are young, people do not take you seriously, and for you to at that age be like, no, I'm gonna publish a book, like sorry. I think that's so cool.
Oh my God, something we didn't talk about is somebody literally roasting my life and saying that to me. That was a real thing. Next episode. But like literally that's happened to me where someone's like, you're too young, this is not for you, like good luck, Charlie.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I did not. From the TV
what did
show.
TBT? Okay.
I know, throwback to that show. But
so you said you've experienced somebody literally telling you like good luck, you're not gonna do
like
it?
a professional writer, like for sure.
So shout out to the haters, like tell me I can't do it, I'm gonna do it better than you ever thought I could. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So there are those moments, and I honestly think it gives you fuel.
Yeah, for sure. I love being underestimated. My favorite fucking thing.
Literally.
Tell me I can't do it, I'm gonna do it 10 times better than you ever thought I was going to. Like.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
That's literally what happened. I was like, okay, got it. Thank you, love you, bye.
And then you mailed this to her doorstep.
Yes.
Like,
I thought about it. I've seen her at like Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, girl.
Not at that Barnes and Noble, Lauren. Like sign it and hand it to her.
I can't put her on blast, but yeah.
What an accomplishment, though. Like I'm so proud of you, even as your friend, someone who cares about you. But even just like knowing that you did this at such a young age, is so cool.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Very like interesting book. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you love sci-fi, especially if you love mystery. But also if like you, I think the concept of multiple realities and like even just like life itself, like it's such a deep, like well thought out story. Yeah.
That means so much coming from you, especially because like you're an artist and you read.
I am an avid reader, so like as soon as you're like, here's a book, I was like, and I'm gonna inhale it in a day.
Thanks.
But,
perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming.
Having me. This was so cute.